Welcome. Happy Tuesday, my friends, in week one of the National Football League for 2024-25 in the books. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm, of course, David On Point Huffman with my co-host, Mr. Matthew James, and from the Daily Blitz blog, Christian Simpson. Welcome to the show, my friends. On today's episode of The Prime, we're going to break down the first Monday Night Football game of the season, and then we're going to give you our preview and predictions for week number 2. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we give you guys consistent NFL content all season long. And Christian, welcome back to the show, man. How did the broadcast go yesterday? Share some juicy details, my friend.
Nah, man, I appreciate everybody who took the time to listen. It was fun. This being my third NFL game that I calling the 2 I did last year, and then this one yesterday. It was good to see Aaron Rodgers back on the field. I always feel when the stars of a sport are back on the field or on the playing surface, it's good. It's good not only for us as fans and even the analysts of the game, but it's good for the sport. It invigorates the sport as a whole. And as far as the 49ers, they're going to be tough. No Christian McCaffrey, no problem. I mean, they established Jordan Morgan, and it just seemed like the as you would say, David, they ran the football. Jordan Mason, right. And you know the rule. You better have game if you got 2 first names. And he does.
True. You kind of jumped the gun there a little bit. But, let's talk about the Jets 49ers. The Jets go into what used to be Candlestick. What is it, Levi Stadium now? And they lose 19-32. But Aaron Rodgers made it through the entire game, and that was more than we could say about what happened last year to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, 13-21. Really, it's almost as if playing in the preseason matters a little bit, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Breece Hall also had a touchdown. Allen Lazard had 2 receiving touchdowns, one of them in garbage time. Garrett Wilson, pretty quiet game for him, 6 for 60 yards. You kind of expect a little bit more out of him, especially if you're a fantasy football player. Brock Purdy, not the touchdown numbers, not there, but, efficient. 19-29, 231 yards, and Jordan Mason, a monster game, undrafted rookie, came in. Elijah Mitchell on the shelf, Chris McCaffrey on the shelf, did not matter. 28 carries, 147 yards, and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel also had a touchdown for the San Francisco 49ers. And Christian, I'll let you get back to the point you were making.
Yeah, the 49ers are going to be tough once again. No Christian McCaffrey, no problem. They built this offense around Jordan. It's Jordan Morgan, right? What's his last name?
Mason, the running back.
Jordan Mason. And then, they made Deebo the intricate part of the offense, and the Jets just couldn't stop them. I mean, the 49ers just beat the Jets up front, and that's what happens. The 49ers are bullies. They want to establish the physicality early and often.
Yeah, and I think it was really apparent that Aaron Rodgers was pretty rusty. Didn't really seem to have the rapport with his weapons that you kind of expect out of a seasoned veteran like Aaron Rodgers. I think he would have benefited by playing at least a little bit in the preseason. But, I mean, who am I to judge on their preparation, how they set it up? The offense just didn't seem to click the way you kind of expected it to with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. But for San Francisco, I mean, they had one simple plan. We're going to run it down your throat. We don't think you can stop us. And the New York Jets could not. And that is a really good defense that they hung 32 points on without Brock Purdy having to be magnificent. He was good in this game, but he wasn't like Brock Purdy. Like last season, Brock Purdy was like an MVP candidate. But if he plays like he played like in this game, he's probably not going to win the MVP. But he was good in this game, but he wasn't like historically good.
Yeah, and they didn't need him to take the game over because they had the running game going. They just kind of needed him to control things, be that game manager, put us in position, and most importantly, don't lose us the football game.
Matt?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were some drop passes in there, especially for Ayuk, getting back into it himself after all the contracts dispute and everything. So he did have one diving catch where Purdy had it right where he needed to for him. And so there were some drops in there, but yeah, he was more of a field manager, game manager. And I mean, I love their strategy where they weren't afraid to, run the ball still, even with their, McCaffrey being out. So, and I mean, just give it time. with Rodgers and everything. So by midseason, you never know. He could be, back up there in the top tier of quarterbacks. And he had some throws yesterday that was like started, showing glimpses of,
Like
him being
that one
back
pass,
there.
the one pass he threw to Alan Lazard was like perfect, drop it in a bucket, like perfect throw.
Oh yeah.
Really nice throw. But yeah, I mean, you come into the season with all this hype that you're like, people have you as like a dark horse, like winner of the division, and then you kind of just lay a goose egg against one of the best teams in the NFL. I think that's going to be a tough swallow to swallow for the New York Jets, and I'll be interested to see how their preparations are for the week coming up, as it doesn't get easier from here.
Absolutely.
Moving on from Monday Night Football, let's swing into, I never changed that. I hate when I do stuff like this. Into week number two. We got Thursday Night Football. Sorry, dude, I'm OCD as hell, dude. I can't, I hate when stuff like that is wrong. It just bothers me to no end. Like,
yo,
I'm right there with you.
David, you act like I haven't been around you for some years now. Oh, I know.
Moving on, let's talk about Thursday Night Football. We got an AFC East showdown, a rematch of the final game of the regular season. The winner won the division in that game. The loser was a wild card spot. Actually, in that scenario, Buffalo was out of the playoffs entirely if they did not win that game. Buffalo obviously won this game last year to go to the playoffs, to win the division, and end up beating the Steelers in the wild card round. But both of these teams are 1-0. Both these teams coming off victories where they had to come back from 17 down, I think, in both of those games for Miami and Buffalo. How do you see this game shaking out? I'll let Matt have the floor first.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this was one of those where it's a great matchup. I mean, these two teams have been battling it out for the AFC East top spot there for the several years now. And I mean, I'm going to take Buffalo on the road with this one, as I believe, their ground game, they can use James Cook and get some, yards out of him. Josh Allen makes a few throws, and Buffalo's defense comes out stronger than it did to start last game. I think they can steal this one on the road against Miami, who, I mean, also started off somewhat slow last game, but I just believe Buffalo overall as a offense has more than Miami does right now. So
you are not going to get, if you go down by 14 points to the Buffalo Bills, you're not going to creep your way back into that game. And you can make the argument that, there was a fantastic play by the Miami Dolphins defender. I mean, that punch out doesn't happen, and the Dolphins don't recover that fumble in the end zone. That's 24 to nothing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They don't come back in that game. They lose that game. If that punch out doesn't happen, I'm going to take Buffalo. I think they're a better team on paper. And I just think that they have more resilient. I think Josh Allen is on a mission right now. 4 touchdowns for him in week 1, 2 in the air and 1 on the ground. Give me Buffalo. Christian, I think I know what's coming.
Nah, this actually isn't one, David. This isn't one. Look, I see the first one is coming up in a couple of games. That's all I'm going to leave it at. But both these teams had to come back on Sunday. Buffalo got all they could from Arizona, and I didn't like the way Miami looked against Jacksonville, which leads me to say, if Jacksonville can hit a couple of big plays down the field on Miami's defense, what makes you think Buffalo can't do it? I think the rushing attack of James Cook, that's going to open up the passing game for Josh Allen. And I feel there's more on Josh's shoulders this time because he has a brand new receiving core, and the defense isn't as strong as it is. But I'm with you both. And David, you made a really good point. Buffalo is the better team on paper. I like Buffalo by a field goal.
Moving on from Thursday Night Football into Sunday afternoon football, where football really does belong. We got the New Orleans Saints going into Dallas. Both of these teams coming off beatdowns of their opponents in week number 1. Obviously, New Orleans beat down the lowly Carolina Panthers, and Dallas Cowboys polished off Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. These teams last locked up almost was it 3 years ago? Yeah, December 2nd, 2021. Christian, do you remember who won that game in 2021?
Dallas did.
Dallas Cowboys 27-17. How do you think the 2024 version shakes out? Christian.
I like Dallas in this one. I love what they did against Cleveland on Sunday. They were in control, had a great mix of run pass. That ratio couldn't have been any better. Defensively, they were able to get after Deshaun Watson. I think they do the same with Derek Carr, and I love how they neutralized Myles Garrett. He did not have an impact in that game. That Dallas defense is championship ready. It's the offense that always seems to hold the Cowboys back, but I like Dallas in this one.
I'm also going to take the Dallas Cowboys. I think the New Orleans Saints just benefited by playing one of the worst teams in the NFL in the Carolina Panthers. They're not going to hang up 47 points on the Dallas Cowboys in this defense. And I think the Saints got lucky that that was their week 1 draw. It makes them feel good about their season, but they're not this good. Give me Dallas. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I just lost track of what I was actually going to say about that, but you pretty much said it all about New Orleans. That, as I was watching the score tracker and stuff while watching the Bears game, I was like, what the hell is going on there? They just piling it on Carolina. But yeah, that Dallas Cleveland game, going back to that, Dallas controlled that from the get-go on both sides of the ball, which was, great to see for them, as they need to be able to do that, for the longevity. I remember last year they did that and started off well. So we'll see how they do as the season progresses. And I'm going to take Dallas in this one, and it's not going to be close.
Moving on from there, we got a rematch of the divisional round last season between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams are coming off victories. Tampa Bay obviously beat the Washington Commanders. The Lions beat the Rams on Sunday Night Football in overtime. Obviously, the last time these two teams played, the Lions got the best of the Buccaneers on the divisional round. In a pretty entertaining game that kind of went down to the wire. Christian, I think I know what's coming. Do I sense it?
David.
Oh, David, let's go, baby.
David on point. It's time. It's on your count or my count. You want me to count?
Always
1, 2, 3. Shameless
plug number one.
Look, I like this Tampa team. I really do. And everybody who said Baker Mayfield isn't a good quarterback, they need to go back and watch all of last year and that game on Sunday. I just feel he was always misunderstood. And he needed the right system and the right coaching. And most importantly, he needed teammates and a head coach that could believe in him. And he's found that in Todd Bowles. And as far as the Lions are going to be tough this year. I mean, this is a team that's coming in and they're hunted instead of being hunters. They won the division. They've won 2 playoff games last year, and they were a game away from reaching the Super Bowl. I previewed this game tomorrow. Be on the lookout for it.
Matt?
Yeah, it's a great point you brought up there, Christian, that Detroit is in unfamiliar grounds since probably the Barry Sanders era, where they are actually the hunted now.
Yeah, they were never even this Barry Sanders.
So it's been a long time since they've been, in this position. And I feel like their offseason, they've, plugged in a few players that they needed in the defensive backs role. And David Monty came out very strong. I believe he had 2 touchdowns ending that game. I mean, Detroit's a team you don't want to, mess with. And I'm going to take Detroit in this one. And I'm going to take them with a couple scores here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think Detroit, they had big time questions in the secondary. You kind of addressed those in the offseason by bringing in Carlton Davis, using your first 2 draft picks on secondary players in Rickshaw and Terrion Arnold. You addressed that in the draft. You drafted that in free agency. I think they had a trade for Carlton Davis, but the Lions, they got better this offseason, and Aiden Hutchinson looks like a man that cannot be blocked right now. And I think the offensive line for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I know they have Oh man, that guy's name is just escaped me. Hold on a second.
Who? The Lions?
No, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're left tackle.
Tristan Wirfs.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I know they have Tristan Wirfs, but Aiden Hutchinson seems like a man on a mission this season to probably win DPOY if all goes the way things shake out the way it could. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions. I think they could win by a couple scores, but I think this game will be closer than many people project. Moving on from there, we got the battle between the Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. It does not appear I can just guarantee Jordan Love will not play in this game. I'm not sure who's going to start for the Green Bay Packers. It'll probably be Malik Willis, but don't quote me on that because I don't know. Anthony Richardson, even though they did fall to the Houston Texans, looked good in that game. He made some really good throws. He made some plays with his legs. Anthony Richardson looks like a guy who's ready to take another level. It'll be interesting to see what Green Bay looks without Jordan Love with Malik Willis at the helm. Last time these two teams played was in 2020, which is 4 years ago. Indianapolis Colts won that game 34-31. I do not think this game will be as high scoring as that one will be, but I still think the Indianapolis Colts come away with the victory. I just have too many question marks about Green Bay, especially with the lack of quarterback play with Malik Willis. I've seen him play in Tennessee. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I just don't. I know he looked good in the preseason, but it's the fucking preseason. I don't mean to swear, but he's just not an NFL quarterback. He's just not. And I think the Indianapolis Colts, I think Green Bay got exposed by how bad their run defense is. You give Jonathan Taylor and the offensive line of the Colts, they're going to exploit that. Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, both going to have at least 80 yards rushing in this game. Give me the Colts to win big.
Yeah, I agree with you that they need to utilize the ground game, get Jonathan Taylor going. I know he only had 15, 16 carries there. They need to up that to 20. Just get him going and pound the rock. I know Anthony Richardson's getting his game going. And I question Malik Willis too, and don't think he's going to be up to it to carry the Packers these few games that Jordan Love's going to be out. And I'm going to take the Colts on the road on this one too.
Christian.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like the Indianapolis Colts. A lot of Jonathan Taylor. If Saquon Barkley could run all over the Packers defense, what makes you think Jonathan Taylor won't do the same? I think this is going to be a close game. Like you said, David, it's not going to be as high scoring as it was. I remember that game in 2020, and because I remember previewing that one. But yeah, I definitely like Indianapolis on the road at Lambeau.
Moving on from there, we got a battle in the AFC. We got the New York Jets coming off that loss on Monday Night Football, going into Nissan Stadium, the home of the Tennessee Titans, where they're coming off that loss to the Chicago Bears, a game they should have won, up 17-0 at halftime, and let that game slip away. Obviously, the last time these two teams played was 3 years ago. New York Jets got the edge 24-27. Matt, how do you see this game shaking out in 2024?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee looks a lot tougher than we all gave them credit for, especially, all the hype the Bears had coming in with Caleb Williams and everything. They went in there and shut them down and made the Bears offensive line look basically like nothing. Especially compared to how well they played during the preseason. So, they made some mistakes towards the end there against the top tier defense, which are going to have to go up against the Jets here too. So, Aaron Rodgers' second game. This one's going to be a close one. I'm going to take the Jets though on the road. I think Rodgers will come out having a better game and pull this one off on the road in Tennessee.
Christian, I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans. I did not enjoy what I saw out of the New York Jets, especially on offense. And this Titans defense, this Titans team as a whole is pretty underrated as a squad.
Yeah.
The Titans
Yeah.
spent a lot of time this offseason building up this defense. They put a lot of good pieces on that side of the ball. I mean, they got some really good players on offense too. I mean, you got Kelvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, Tyler Boyd. I mean, all those three guys were 1,000-yard receivers at one point in their career. And then Tony Pollard along with Tajay Sharp. Or Spears, Spears, sorry. Tajay Sharp used to play for the Tennessee Titans, man, like 5 years ago, maybe. Anyways, I'm taking the Titans in a little bit of a mini upset. I think that they bounce back off that kind of debilitating loss to the Chicago Bears. I kind of like this Titans squad a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't look bad in that game on Sunday against the Bears. They didn't give up an offensive touchdown, if I'm not mistaken.
No, they didn't. Nope.
Yeah, look, this defense can get after Aaron Rodgers. You know, he doesn't scare me like he used to. I'm just going to put it to you like that. I'm a former defensive end, and now I'd be excited to play him compared to his Green Bay days because he's not that Green Bay guy anymore. David, I'm almost tempted to go with you and agree with you. Look, you got the Kool-Aid grin on your face. But I'm going to take the Jets by a field goal. But they're going to struggle in this game because the Titans are going to give them a war, but I'm going to take the Jets in a close game.
Moving on from there, we're going to swing into the NFC where the San Francisco 49ers, fresh off beating Aaron Rodgers, and the New York Jets go into Minnesota, fresh off beating Christian Simpson's New York Football Giants in a beatdown. No, I apologize, Christian. The last time these two teams played was actually last season, and Minnesota actually won that game 22-17. This is pre-Kirk Cousins injury, where he was because Vikings were on a bit of a roll there before that Kirk Cousins gets banged up. I just don't think that that's going to be the case here. I think Minnesota, I think they just beat, no offense, beat a bad football team in the New York Football Giants. I think San Francisco is going to give them a reality check, and this is one of my locks of the week. San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the San Francisco 49ers here. I know Minnesota got them last year, but there was no Trent Williams, and I think Deebo Samuel was out as well. That was a Monday night game last year.
I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't walking through that door. Like, let's just be real.
Exactly. And that 49ers defense, they're going to be active. If they play anything like they did last night, it's going to be a long day at the office for the Minnesota Vikings. I like San Francisco.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to go with both of you guys at San Francisco. As they've shown last night, they've got so much depth on that team that, yet again, they're very dangerous all over the board. And Minnesota, hope they had, their fun last week and it's going into a tough home opener here. I'm going to take San Francisco by a couple scores here.
Moving on from there, we got a rematch of the Super Bowl, 10 years ago now? It's got to be close to 10. Feels like 10.
Yeah.
It's got to be damn close to 10 years 10 years since the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots locked up in the Super Bowl. Very different teams than the teams that showed up in the Super Bowl 10 years ago. Geno Smith versus Jacoby Brissett. Both these teams are coming off victories. Seattle with Denver and New England beating the Cincinnati Bengals and stealing one of my survivor picks. Thank you very much, New England. Last time these two teams played was 4 years ago. Seattle got the edge 35-30. Christian, how do you see this one shaking out in 2024?
Well, Tom Brady and Russell Wilson aren't walking through that door, and neither is Malcolm. And neither is Malcolm Butler.
Probably not, at least. Neither is Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Although Marshawn Lynch may be given massages on the sideline, so he may be involved.
Yeah, I mean,
if you guys see the video, he's just giving his head coach a little massage, in the middle of the game.
Right, but I like the Seattle Seahawks in this one. I just think they have a little bit more offensive firepower than what New England does. I love what New England did against Cincinnati, because that was vintage Patriots. Taking away the number one weapon, making the Bengals one-dimensional, and the Bengals simply overlooked them. Plain and simple. Seattle, they're going to get that running game going. Kenneth Walker III, spread the ball around. I don't know if New England has anybody in the secondary that can keep up with Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. I like Seattle in a close one. I think it'll be a defensive struggle, like a 21-17 type of game.
Matt?
Yeah, gonna go with New England on this one, as Seattle's got to travel across the country, and feel like New England's gonna do just enough again to win this game. In another, punch it out, low scoring battle. I just feel like New England, I guess, is going to be one of those teams that's going to take a few victories early, then kind of show their true colors as other teams start stepping it up towards middle of the seasons and towards the end of the season. So I'm going to take New England at home in a close one.
I kind of like that pick. Like, I kind of like it because I think because Kenneth Walker's also a little bit banged up. He's questionable right now. We won't know until like he practices tomorrow. I think they have their first practice tomorrow. If they didn't practice today, so he's questionable right now. So we'll see if he ends up even playing in this game. And I kind of like the New England pick because I think they just are a scrappy bunch who play hard for their head coach. But with all that being said, I think Seattle is just a better football team. And I think they're going to have a hard time. New England is. I think they're going to have time checking this wide receiving core. I mean, on the other side, against when they went up against Cincinnati, I mean, you didn't have T. Higgins. Jamar Chase really wasn't practicing, getting over a cold. The rest of those weapons on Cincinnati right now are pretty unproven. Like, it's going to be a conversation that, like, Cincinnati's kind of have to have. Like, who can we rely on this offense now that Tyler Boyd's no longer there? And Hayden Hurst is gone. I mean, so it'll be interesting to see what that tight end room looks like, what this wide receiving room looks like for Cincinnati. Not to get off track here, but I'm going Seattle. And then we go into the NFC East, and we go up against somebody's got to win between the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. Both these teams coming off pretty big losses. Giants, obviously, as I mentioned, got kind of smacked around by the Minnesota Vikings. The Washington Commanders, although they did put up points, they still lost pretty handily to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Christian, this is your squad. How do you think this is going to shake out?
I like the Commanders in this one. I look between these two quarterbacks. Give me Jaden Daniels.
You're not a believer of Danny Pennies?
You almost made me hang up and leave.
Pennies.
Don't do that. You almost made me hang up and leave this damn show. Don't do that. Don't do that. Disrespectful.
I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
You couldn't you?
I couldn't resist. No, I'm sorry.
I still love you, David.
I love you too.
All right, man.
Anyways, I'm also with you. I'm taking the Washington Commanders. I think this is going to be one of those games where it's just like there's going to be turnovers everywhere. Like, this may be a high-scoring game, but it's going to be sloppy football. Like, I think if you're in fantasy, I think both of these defenses are worth starting. I think there's going to be a pick six on both sides. Maybe not so much on the Giants side because Kayvon Thibodeau hasn't really developed the way you kind of expected him to. It's kind of a little bit disappointing. And I think the secondary for both these two teams is kind of trash. Give me the Commanders.
Yeah,
Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to take Washington in this one, and as their head coach said, he wants to try to get Jaden Daniels to try to get his passing game going a little bit more. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, against a struggling, Giants team the last few years, especially on actually both sides of the ball. Sorry, Christian.
Hey, look,
you're not telling me.
Sorry, Christian in there somewhere.
You're not telling him anything he doesn't already know.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
You act like I don't live here.
Right. Screw it. Give me Washington.
Moving on to North Carolina, where the Los Angeles Chargers are going to roll in against the Carolina Panthers. Chargers fresh off beating Las Vegas Raiders. And the Carolina Panthers obviously got stormed out of the building in New Orleans, getting beat by 47-10. The last time these two teams played, September 27, 2020. Christian, do you know who won that game?
I want to say the Chargers won that game.
Anybody have a different guess?
Carolina.
Carolina won that game 21-16. I do not think that's the way this game is going to shake out. Carolina has proved to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, even though they, added some weapons on offense. And the Derek Brown injury is not being talked about a lot because it's part of the Carolina Panthers, but he misses any time, they're finished. Give me Los Angeles. And I almost want to make this a lock of the week, but I will not because I think there's a better pick later. Give me the Chargers.
I'm going to go.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chargers. Their ground game, as they've shown last week, I mean, they just pounded the ball. J.K. Dobbins had, a $135 on the ground, couple touchdowns, I believe.
135.
They're going to continue that across 1 touchdown. Okay.
13.5 yards per clip.
Jeez. Yeah. Give me the Chargers. Lock for me.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers as well. The Harbaugh effect is real.
Yeah.
Look at that style of football they played against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday, running the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage, and Justin Herbert not having to do too much. I like the Chargers to get to 2-0.
Moving on from that game, we're swinging back into the AFC, and two teams are kind of licking their wounds after week number 1. The Cleveland Browns obviously got blanked, got beat down pretty handily by the Dallas Cowboys. And if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you got to feel like you let a game slip away against the Miami Dolphins, a game you should have won. Both these teams come in defeated. The last time these two teams played was last year, December 10th, 2023. Cleveland got the edge, 31-27. Matt, how do you think the 2024 version shakes out here?
Pretty similar. As you said, both are licking their wounds, especially Cleveland getting smacked at home against Dallas. But, I mean, Jacksonville, too, for the fact that they were up 3 scores on the road against a good Miami team and fell apart in that second half. Them being at home, I think they're going to hold it together and take this one in another, close game between the two teams.
In Duval County, where the Jacksonville Jaguars play. I just don't believe in the offense of the Cleveland Browns. And if you remember correctly, who was the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns when they won that game last year? Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco ain't walking through that door. He's currently in Indianapolis. Deshaun Watson has not shown me anything in the minimum amount of time that he's actually started games for the Cleveland Browns since they traded for him, that he is still a worthy starter in the NFL. Give me the Jaguars. I think they bounced back after what was a pretty tough loss in week 1 in Miami. Give me the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I like Jacksonville. I'd probably lean toward Cleveland if Nick Chubb was in, but he's not. He's still out. I like the Jaguars to bounce back.
Moving on from there, we got the final game in the late afternoon window. We got the Las Vegas Raiders going into M&T Bank Stadium, the home of the Baltimore Ravens. Both of these teams coming off taking L's in week number 1. The Raiders to the Chargers, Ravens to the Chiefs. But the last time these two teams played, Las Vegas actually got the better of them in 2021, 33-27. I do not think that will be the case this time. This is my second lock of the week. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. And if you did not see how the Los Angeles Chargers ran the ball down the throat of the Raiders last week, imagine what Lamar Jackson and Derek Kingham Henry are going to do against this squad. Give me the Ravens. This is going to be a beat down. Christian.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. The Ravens are going to feed Derrick Henry the ball. Look, that 13 carries in the last game, that can't happen. They're going to feed him the ball. He's going to run circles around the Raiders defense. The Raiders are soft. I'm just going to come right out and say, punch them in the mouth. They'll never recover. Lamar has a nice day at the office as well. Baltimore gets their first win of the year.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. Baltimore is going to take this one handily.
Swinging into the NFC West, and we got the Los Angeles Rams coming off that loss in overtime to the Detroit Lions. going into the desert and take into the big toaster, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. They obviously got beat by the Buffalo Bills, a game that they were up at halftime, 17-0, but ended up letting that game slip away. How do you think this game shakes out? Matt, I'll let you have the floor first.
I'm going to take Los Angeles. They're coming off, a rough loss themselves on the road against a tough Detroit team on Sunday night. I just feel they're overall a better team and have more offensive firepower that have been together longer. Arizona needs to try to get Marvin Harrison more involved in this for them to, be more effective in the long haul. I think he only had just a few targets last game, so I didn't obviously watch the game with the Bears being on, but I saw the box score with him only getting the 3 targets. You said
he had 3 targets. He had 1 catch.
Yeah,
I think it was like for 4 yards.
So it's kind of what the offense they had last year. So they need to get him involved more and try to get a run game, control the clock. And I mean, we've already talked about how bad their defense is, which is why they lost last week. So, and I think it's going to happen again this week where the Rams are going to be too much offensively and take this one in the second half.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Rams as well. I don't know if I said this yet or not. But I'm just not totally sure. I think this game is gonna be closer. I think the Rams are banged up. I'm not sure about the status of Puka Nacua.
He's out. He's on injured reserve. He's out.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
He's gonna be out for a while.
Various reasons. Anyways, man, that's terrible news. Christian, why do you got to do stuff like that? So. But I think you saw what the Rams were able to do. I mean, they were shifting out offensive linemen, they were shifting out defenders. This is a resilient football team. I think they'll do just enough to beat the Arizona Cardinals, but this game is going to be closer than people think. I wouldn't be surprised if this game went down to the final minute or two. Matthew Stafford makes a play here or there, ends up winning the game. So give me the Rams.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Los Angeles Rams as well. I have more faith in their defense than I do the Arizona Cardinals. That's what it ultimately comes down to for me.
Moving on to swinging into the AFC. This time I got the 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers going into Mile High and taking on the Denver Broncos. Steelers obviously beat the Atlanta Falcons in week number 1. Denver lost to the Seattle Seahawks in week number 1. The last time these two teams locked up was actually 3 years ago. Christian, do you remember who won that game 3 years ago?
It was 3 years ago. I'm going to say I think Pittsburgh won that game.
Pittsburgh did win that game on October 10th, 2021, 27-19. It does appear Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So no quote-unquote revenge game for the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson probably won't play in this game. But Christian, how do you think this game shakes out anyways?
A rookie quarterback against that Steelers defense. You know what direction I'm going in, David. Steel curtain all day, baby. Look, I think TJ Watt will have a couple of sacks. Minka Fitzpatrick's going to be sitting at that line of scrimmage. They don't need the Steelers offense to be electric. Run the football. They're running the same type of offense and playing the same type of football they did with a rookie 20 years ago. That makes me feel old now. Named Ben Roethlisberger. Steelers get the win on the road.
Yeah, I'm taking the Steelers too. I didn't see anything out of Denver that makes me think that they're going to be world beaters against the Steelers. And their offensive line has major question marks. And this wide receiving core outside of Cortland Sutton also has some major question marks. That makes a real head-scratching decisions why you trade away Jerry Jeudy and then release Tim Patrick without really having replacements for either of those guys. And Javonte Williams is a nice running back, but he's just one guy. Give me the Steelers. I think this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game, though. I think if whoever can get to 15 points first probably wins.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'm going to take the Steelers on this one. Their defense is going to be too much for the Bo Nix, who had a nice, first game for the rookie overall. I mean, kept him in it. So, but Denver needs to learn to utilize their ground game a little bit more and but that's going to come with time. Give me Pittsburgh.
Moving on from there, probably everybody has circled this one on their calendar before the season started. We got the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow coming off that loss to the New England Patriots, going into Arrowhead, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, fresh off beating the Baltimore Ravens. These teams actually played last season, I think at the very end of the season, where Kansas City won that game with 25-17. Jake Browning was the starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. So take that with all of the salt in the world. Matt, how do you think this one shakes out in 2024?
I'm going to take the Chiefs this one. Going to Arrowhead. Chiefs proved last game that they are still the top dog in the league against a very, very difficult opponent in Baltimore in a great game last Thursday night. And I think they're going to do it again in this game as Joe Burrow and company are still trying to get their magic going again as they had a few years ago. So I'm going to take Kansas City in this one.
So I think that's the real big part for me. I think more so than like the Kansas City stuff. Like, yes, they're like the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme when it comes to the NFL right now. But the Cincinnati Bengals just didn't look good against a quote unquote bad New England Patriots team. They just looked out of sorts. I'll see what they look like with the full week of Jamar Chase practicing. T. Higgins, maybe he gets back on the field. Maybe he gets a rapport with some of those tight ends. But this just didn't look like a good Cincinnati Bengals team. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I don't think this game is going to be close. Christian.
David.
Oh, let's go, baby.
One.
I kind of forgot what number we're on. But
one. This is number two. This is number
Okay.
two.
Okay.
Three. Shameless plug.
Number two.
Yeah, I've had the privilege to preview every matchup between these two since 2022 when Jamar Chase went off for the 266 yards and the Bengals beat them in the AFC Championship game. Like, the Bengals beat them 3 times in a calendar year. Then Kansas City got their revenge in the AFC Championship. For the longest, I think I told David this too off the microphone. The biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC were these Bengals. But after what I saw on Sunday, I don't know. It's still early, so I'm not going to throw the towel in on Cincinnati just yet. However, they haven't seen this version of the Chiefs. This is a Chiefs team that's more balanced. This is a Chiefs team that depends on the run. The defense, they're not putting all the pressure on the offense because the defense can come out and close games out and finish games and pick the offense up when the offense isn't producing. I preview this one on Friday. Be on the lookout.
Swinging into Sunday Night Football, we got the Bears and Caleb Williams going into NRG Stadium, the home of CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Bears kind of pulled out the rabbit out of the hat against the Tennessee Titans. The Houston Texans won a very entertaining game against the Indianapolis Colts. Last time these two teams played each other was 09, 25, 2022. Christian, who won that matchup?
Houston won that game. That was the Davis Mills.
Lovie Smith.
Incorrect, actually.
No, you said 09, right?
No, I said September. Sorry, September. Like, so it was.
September. Okay, sorry. I was thinking of a few years later.
I don't know why I said 09. I
was like, okay.
But the Bears won that game. They won it on a Cairo Santos 30-yard field goal. The Bears did not score they had Khalil Herbert had an 11-yard run, but they did not score a touchdown in that game. They had all field goals. Oh, they had Khalil Herbert had 2 touchdowns. I don't know what I'm talking about. Never mind. Christian, how do you think this one shakes out? Just move on.
David.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Shameless plug number 3. Baby. Everyone's getting on Caleb Williams about not having those sexy stats, but look, he didn't turn the ball over and they won the football game. The Bears special teams closed that game out for them and they delivered when they needed them to. As far as Houston, that's the best I've seen them run the ball since the Arian Foster days. That means it's been a while. I mean, Joe Mixon really came in 30 carries, 159 yards. And as a team, they ran the ball for over 213 yards collectively. CJ Stroud did what he had to do. It's the first meeting between CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams on Sunday night under the lights. Can't wait to share my thoughts with you guys on the site about this one. I preview this one on Thursday. Be on the lookout.
Sweet.
I'm going to take the Houston Texans. I think they're just a better football team than the Chicago Bears are right now. And it's not a bad, like, it wouldn't be a bad loss if the Bears were lose to Houston on Sunday Night Football on the road against the CJ Stroud-led offense. I just think that the Texans are just a better football team. And I think the Bears, they're still going to have some growing pains. I mean, this is still an offense that's still trying to kind of find their footing a little bit. I think the Bears defense is going to limit CJ Stroud a little bit in this game. I think it's really good. But I think I'm going to go Houston. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you brought up that this is still in the growing pain stage for the Bears. It really is, especially with getting the offensive line, hopefully starting to get it straightened out, which was pretty, put it in a nice way, awful and pathetic for most of, the first game. But as Christian brought up, I love the fact that they did not turn the ball over, which kept them in that game. So Houston, yeah, they're just a step ahead right now from where Chicago's should be going. And this is a nice learning curve type game going on the road Sunday night against a young team that's found their groove and everything. I'm going to take Houston in this one, but I feel like the Bears defense, being on that top tier level, is going to keep them in this for most of the game. But Houston's, as we said, are just a better team right now.
To Monday Night Football and the final game of week number 2. We got the Atlanta Falcons. We're licking their wounds a little bit after what was not a great performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers in their house. Kirk Cousins threw 2 really bad interceptions to kind of seal that game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going into the link and taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who ran the football down the throat of the Green Bay Packers. And to move up at 1-0. The last time these two teams played was 3 years ago, surprisingly. You wouldn't think the conference foes would go that long without playing each other. But the Philadelphia Eagles put the hurting on the Atlanta Falcons in that game, 32-6. Matt, how do you think the 2024 version shakes out?
Pretty similar. I know Atlanta got, some nice pieces for their defense and everything, which kept them in that Pittsburgh game as their offense continued to struggle to put points up. And I mean, going into Philly's never an easy place to play. And Philly's just a very strong, well-rounded team, especially offensively, with Saquon Barkley joining them and getting things going. I have Philly winning this one fairly easily.
Christian.
Yeah, I like the Eagles as well. Lots of Saquon Barkley. I don't trust Kirk Cousins under the lights because he always seems to crumble and fold. I think that defense gets back to it as well. They're going to get a nice pass rush. You saw the Falcons' offensive line struggle against the Steelers. I think the Eagles can capitalize upon that as well. I like Philly.
I'm taking the upset. Of course I am.
Oh.
I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons. I think another week of practice. Like Kirk Cousins, he just hasn't won a lot of primetime games. He's been good in those games. He just doesn't, like, the team just hasn't won those games. I am going to take the Atlanta Falcons. I think because the Eagles are still kind of feeling out a new secondary, kind of still feeling out a new, like, defensive line too as well. I think their offense gets clicking in this game. Give me the Falcons to actually come up with the upset against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. And if you were curious, TJ couldn't join us on the History podcast. I'll just rattle through his predictions right quick. I meant to do that as we went through the show.
Don't nobody want to hear his stuff.
But I forgot, so I'm just going to do it now. So in the Bills, so he went. So they just we're just going to rattle off. So he went Dolphins, Jaguars, Ravens, Jets, 49ers, Chargers, Seahawks, Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Colts, Rams, Steelers, Chiefs, Texans, and Eagles. So there's TJ's picks. I meant to do that as we went through each game, but I'm a human being and I forgot. So it happens. But yeah, that's been our week number 1 Monday Night Football recap, week number 2 preview and predictions. Thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast as we bring you guys daily content here at Prime Sports World. I'm David Huffman, my co-host, Mr. Matthew James, and from the Daily Blitz.blog, Mr. Christian Simpson. And gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime, my friends?
We
Bring the heat,
baby.
Yes, sir. We'll be back here tomorrow doing our fantasy football show. So you want to miss that content. We're going to talk about some stuff because we got a lot going on in the world of fantasy. You all take it easy and have a good night. Peace out, guys.
All right.